Here are four components or four core elements of purchasing planning. One is need identification and need analysis. The second is the market research or market analysis, market research analysis. Third is budgeting. And fourth is order planning. Now let's look at needs identification and analysis. This is where the organization, and especially the procurement team or supply team, will look at the requirements of the materials that we need in order to meet internal customers' demand. We analyze requirements in terms of specifications, in terms of material, in terms of the constraints, production constraints, in terms of features. Okay, if we're buying components, we need to look at the specific features that we want the components to be built with, and this specification will be outlined in the documents that is called the material requirements that will be sent to the supplier, so that the supplier can be aware of the specific requirements or features that we want in the goods or material that we are buying. So identifying the need internally is a first good step in the in the needs identification and analysis. We should be able to identify internally what are the material that we are looking for, what are the specifications, what are the requirements, what are the constraints, what are the features, and we go talk to our internal customers, especially to the production team, and ask them questions about the requirements, about the specifications. And we have to write down the specification, lay them down in the documents that will be sent to the supplier. And then whenever there is a need, whenever there is a demand in the organization, this demand is processed through the ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. This is a tool that will help the supplier, the buyer, the purchaser in the organization to actually process the requirements of the internal customers. So need identification, need analysis is key to managing purchasing planning. This is the first step that needs to be executed in a most effective and efficient way, so that we don't miss any opportunity to collect all the information necessary for the requirements to be specified in the way our internal customers want them. The second aspect of the core elements is market research. This is where we want to go into the actual market, supplier market, and look at who are the main suppliers, who are the dominant suppliers, who are the suppliers or the wholesalers. So we look at the whole dynamics of the market in order to see what are the forces dominating this market, who are the key players, how is the market organized? Do we have a monopoly? Is this a monopoly market? Is it a monopolistic market? Is this an oligopoly market? Is this a competitive market? This is where we actually analyze the market in order to see what are the dynamics. And out of the research, we should come up with the key information that will allow us to go about our supplier selection strategy. And then we'll start asking for information in forms of the request for information. For example, if we send a request for information, this means that we want suppliers to provide us with some key information that will guide us in our decision-making process. Or we can send a request for a quotations. This is where we know exactly what we want. We want to buy, for example, the raw materials. We know exactly what the specifications are. We know what the components are. We know what the quantity is. We know what the price is. Or sometimes we don't know what the price is. So this is where we want the suppliers to provide us with the quotations that specifies the quantity, the material that we want, or the service that we want, the quantity that we want, the price, the unit price, or the bulk price that will be charged for the item, the material, or whatever we are buying. So based on the quotation, we will be able to see and understand what each supplier is bringing to the table, what each supplier is providing in terms of price, in terms of quantity, in terms of commercial terms, in terms of delivery. Okay, sometimes a supplier will deliver on time, but the price is higher. Sometimes another supplier will deliver late, but provides good quality material, but at a higher price. Okay, so this is where, as a buyer, we collect the information in terms of quotations. We analyze the quotations. We compare the proposal from every supplier, and we select the best alternative for our business, the best alternative in terms of price, in terms of cost, in terms of quantity, in terms of transport, in terms of shipments, in terms of on-time delivery. These are the things we have to take into consideration when selecting the supplier. Okay, and based on the information we have collected, we can go to our internal customers, be it the production team or the sales team or whatever in the departments, in order to discuss our decision, to discuss our choices, and sometimes to involve them in the decision-making process so that they can help us select the best supplier. The third thing I want to talk about is budgeting. Okay, so this is where we want to make sure that the finance has the money available. We have the budget to meet the cost. The budget is available to meet the production cost of material purchased. So along with asking for a quotation, we should be able to compare the cost or the price against the budget. Do we have the budget to meet the supplier's demand? Do we have the supplier's requirements in terms of cost, in terms of maybe extra services? Okay, you have suppliers that provides after sales services, and then we need to ask ourselves, do we accept any after sales services in addition to what we have paid to the supplier, or we could possibly pay to the supplier? Can we accept any after sales service? If yes, does it cost anything to the business? If it does cost anything, how much does it cost? Do we have the budget? Do we have the finance to meet that such a service? So we have to ahead of time, we have to consider all these factors to make sure that we have the budget that will help meet any unforeseen event. And finally, we have order planning. So order planning is where we want to make sure that we know exactly what are the level of quantity. What is the level of quantity that we need to buy? What is the quantity we need to buy? This is actually scheduling and quantity planning of orders. So especially in the manufacturing context, we exactly need to know how many orders we will receive during a period, which may be a quarter, a month, or a year. Sometimes we place orders on a yearly basis. So every year we place one order, but these orders will be delivered in small pieces. Okay, so we need to schedule when exactly the order will be supplied, delivered to the company, so that at that given time we have what it takes to start productions. So this is scheduling. We need to schedule when should the supplier, or when should we receive raw materials, the components, or whatever we need to start production. So scheduling is very key to order planning. We should schedule, and in addition to scheduling, we also have to determine the quantity of items, the quantity of raw materials that we want, and how many we want in order to satisfy our production expectations. So we have to plan, to calculate, to come up with forecasted quantity planning that outlines the different schedule with which we will receive productions. So basically, this is where we go about the economic order quantity. This is where we calculate how many items we want and when do we want them, at what time, and what is the periodic. Do we go about the periodic or the fixed term strategy, or the periodic strategy? This is where we determine whether we want a fixed delivery of items, or we want a variable periodicity in the supply of the goods or the items. That's it for order planning. For purchasing planning, we will come back to the next chapter. That's all for purchasing planning.